Hello, I'm Shannon Utz. Some of you may also know me as Odious Soul. In this video, I'm going to tell you how I became a Forrest Fenn treasure hunter and also how I found my first solve. In later videos, I will discuss our first boots on the ground this year, April 2018, and also discuss some of the challenges we faced and how we tried to overcome them while we were on the ground. So, stay tuned for my story. So, it all started back in December, sometime right after Thanksgiving. My boyfriend made me watch this unsolved mystery show, and on it had a story about Trabuco's gold. If you've never heard about it, it's 16 tons of Mexican gold stored somewhere in the New Mexican desert, hidden, and no one's ever found it. So, anyway, I rolled my eyes like, yeah, we'd ever be able to find that. And if we did, how would we get it out of there? Like, just me and my logical brain went kind of crazy. So from there, 2 days later, him being a YouTube junkie, he came back with a YouTube video on all kinds of hidden treasures that were still out there, never to be found. And one of those treasures on that video was about Forrest Fenn. And for some reason, it kind of struck me like there's a poem. So there's clues, there's a way to find this and figure it out. So I thought I would take a stab at it. So I did. I read the poem, and of course, the first real clue that kind of stuck out to me was where warm waters halt. So I Googled, warmest rivers in Rocky Mountains. And what came up was the Firehole River. So I started doing a little bit more research with everything, and come to find out, Forrest Fenn actually spent a lot of time in West Yellowstone. He actually bathed in the Firehole River when he was younger to avoid the bathtub in the center of the cabin and his mom pouring hot water over top of him. So I thought, well, maybe that's a good place to start. And from there, I kind of decided not to look too much on blogs, not to, just Google too much around different chat groups. I stayed away from the Facebook groups. I've really just stuck with trying to watch every video that Forrest Fenn ever spoke on, any audio where he spoke that was available. I watched all the videos that Dale Neitzel did with him. I watched, everything. I think, what is it, Lady Love or Lucky Love, something on YouTube. And a couple of the ones that Gypsy Kiss have of just Forrest Fenn talking. I stayed with that because I wanted to know him. I wanted to know his story. And I also spent a lot of time on the Maps app on my MacBook, just looking and kind of going from place to place. I will admit, when I first started, I took the Firehole and I saw that the Gibbons, the Madison, and the Firehole all came together. And saw that there was a lot of warm water involved, with the Firehole and the Gibbons, and I saw there was a canyon that went kind of north up the Gibbons. So originally I did that, and I was looking around like the Painted Pots area in Yellowstone, and then something clicked, like, wait a minute, take it in the canyon down. So what am I taking? If I follow the Gibbons, I'm actually going upstream, so that's probably not where I want to do it. So I ended up taking the Firehole River and the Gibbons River, where warm waters, two rivers that are geyser, thermo activity fed. And I took that particular place as where warm waters halt, because those two rivers halt at a point, and that's where the Madison River starts. So I then saw that there was the Madison Canyon, a little bigger of a canyon than I was expecting to take, but I just took that down out of Yellowstone Park and tried to find the clues from there. From there, I did Google a little bit, and I saw that some people were talking about like Baker's Hole, or is it Barnes Hole, one of those in that like 10-mile stretch between when it comes out of the canyon between there and Hebgen Lake. So I was taking maybe one of those as the home of the brown. I think somebody had said that. And then from there it was, okay, well, put him below the home of the brown, put him below one of these fishing holes. And I think first I found like a Cougar Creek Road or Cougar Creek, and I was like, oh, that must be no place for the meek. Let's take this. But everything around there kind of ended up and couldn't really get me any farther than that. I couldn't really find any place that kind of fit past the no place for the meek, and the no place for meek was more just a name. And I think that's where I realized that I was missing something. Forrest has said over and over again about how these clues will probably still be there in 100 years, maybe even 1,000 years or longer. And so if it's something like that, it has to be geological. It can't just be a name of something like Cougar Creek. The name of Cougar Creek can change. So it has to be something that's more geological and sustaining, and can't be just changed on a whim. You know, street names change all the time. You know, somebody dies and, oh, let's name a street after them. So I was looking for more geological things to find to fit the clues. So I was happy with where Warm Water Salt was. I was happy with the canyon down. But then there was too far to walk. And so I kind of played with that for a little bit, and I had read someplace that people were thinking Homer Brown might be Hebgen Lake, because there's actually a sign at Hebgen Lake that says that the brown trout, all the trout, they kind of go home to Hebgen Lake. You know, that's where they live, and then they go upriver to spawn, and then they go back to the lake to live the rest of their lives. So I thought, well, that's a perfectly good Homer Brown. Later, discovering he does quote from the Journal of the Trapper and reference that book. And in that book, they do, the writer of that book does capitalize animals and things like that. So that would not be unheard of to capitalize the B for brown, as in brown trout, because it is a proper noun. It is naming of an animal or something, and something that does give credit to having capital letter. So I thought about that. And from there, it was just me with the map, going up Cabin Creek, going up Beaver Creek, looking through the mountains, looking for anything that might be ablaze, looking for some sign or something else that, the like ever drawing nigh. What could it be? What could it be? What could it be? And then only 8 days in, I was spending every moment I could after work on my laptop, on lunch breaks, heavy Googling and searching maps. And I found this video near the West Yellowstone area about the 1959 earthquake. It was put out, I think, by the Geological Service or the Forest Service or something, but it was about a 20-30 minute video on YouTube. And when I watched it, a lot of the clues after Homer Brown clicked into place. Just, all right, so if you imagine Firehole River, Gibbon River, halt and form the Madison, take it in the canyon down. Not too far to walk will take you from the canyon to Hebgen Lake. Put in below the Homer Brown will take you past the dam and Hebgen Lake. You're putting in the Madison River, past that. And when watching this video, it was kind of like I figured out the key to the poem. The key to the poem is you're starting it at the beginning of the Madison River. That's where it starts. And you're taking the Madison all the way down. So I just kept going on the Madison, and then everything in this earthquake video kind of snapped. So it is no place for the meek. You're going into earthquake zone. There's also a place called Refugee Point. Refugees or Refuge Point, refugee, no place, they're not meek. They're brave. The people that survived that night in that valley escaped to Refuge Point. They waited for helicopters. They were the brave ones. They were the ones that were not meek. They survived. So that was no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh was Earthquake Lake. In case you don't know, Earthquake Lake was formed by the massive slide of earth down on the west side of the valley there. And when all those heavy loads came down, the water from the Madison River started backing up. Also, the Hebgen Dam was a little damaged, so you had a flooding of this valley, which created Earthquake Lake. The Army Corps of Engineers had to come in, and in a couple weeks' time, they actually made a new Madison River on that west end of the valley because they needed to drain this now formed lake. However, they couldn't drain it too quickly, otherwise the valley would flood. So, if you did not know this, due to natural erosion from the man-made river, okay, over the course of time, Earthquake Lake will continue to drain and get smaller and smaller and smaller. Therefore, the end is ever drawing nigh for Earthquake Lake. To me, that was perfect. So you have no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. There will be no paddle up your creek because there's a lot of creeks along Earthquake Lake. None of them you can paddle up. Half of them don't even have names. Half of them only exist in the spring and early summer months when the snow is melting. And then from there, it's, just heavy loads and water high, which leads you to the Madison Slide. So from there, it was, no, it can't be. No, it can't be. No, that big thing screaming at you when you're looking at the map, that Madison Slide, that can't be the Blaze. But to me, the slide actually became the Blaze, and it wasn't necessarily its own clue. It wasn't exactly another point on the map. For me, that slide was the Blaze, and then from there, you're supposed to look quickly down. So because I'm following a river, I looked quickly downriver. So that was my search area. Ta-da! Simple as that. The question was, where do you go from there? The poem's not over yet. So, look quickly down your quest to cease. That just means you're not going any farther. You're not traveling any farther. From the beginning of where warm waters halt to the Blaze, where your quest is about to cease, is about 50 miles. That's a good long ways. So what did I do once I found the Blaze and looked quickly down? Well, again, I'm looking west. I'm looking downriver, okay? And we got to look at the rest of the poem. What do you do then? Look quickly down your quest to cease, but tarry scant with marvel gaze. Just take the chest and go in peace. Why would you want to tarry scant with marvel gaze? Well, let me tell you. That slide is massive. It's huge. It's crazy. The Madison River flows forcefully through that S-curve in that area, through the blazed land. So you're not going to want to stick around. For one, another earthquake happens, that area could easily flood. You have the chance of avalanches and rock slides. It's a scary area to even think about. One of the things that's kind of cool is Forrest talks about going to a cemetery and just kind of chilling and thinking because, it's a good place to kind of catch your thoughts. Well, the Madison Slide covers up several people. Several people died there and their bodies were never recovered. So it is kind of like its own sanctuary, its own cemetery, just not an official one, So I thought I was still on the right track. Plus, in the Thrill of the Chase book, which I finally got a month or two after figuring out my solve, also talked about how he used to go down like the fire escape slide, out his classroom, and slowly things started picking up where I thought I was definitely on the right track. So, tarry scant with marvel gaze, take the chest and go in peace. Chest must be there somewhere, but where? So that's where the rest of the poem came in. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answer I already know. I've done it tired and now I'm weak. That didn't really give me anything. That didn't really help me, and to this day I'm still kind of just thinking it's legal stuff. But the next part really kind of had me thinking. Especially the part that said, if you are brave and in the wood. Hear me all and listen good. Your answer will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to my gold. Well, what's cold? I will definitely tell you, we went in April and we had one day of cold, and there was one day where I was tracing around in jeans and boots and a tank top, stomping through snow. I wasn't cold. I was hot. I was so hot. So I definitely think that the cold probably meant a water crossing, and going in April, the water was pretty fierce, so we did not cross. We found other ways to get to our spot. But from there, if you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to my gold. Well, we were definitely brave, being in that area when you're seeing all the dead animal parts and you're seeing all this avalanche area, you gotta be brave. I still think there might be some kind of Indian reference there that I did not pick up, possibly. And as for in the wood, we checked every single wood, forest, treed area, and every down tree we possibly could. And we searched with the metal detector. So that is the basic of my solve. I really do think that you follow the river down, the Madison down, till you get to that spot. And that's where you get out of your boat, get off the Madison or the road that's adjacent to it, and that's where you start looking. And I'll tell you, we walked 30 miles, according to my Apple Watch. We searched everywhere. Some of the spaces we actually searched twice because they were very, very Fennish. And the problem is there's a lot of rocks in that slide area, so there's no way to look under every single rock. If you can, I hope you have a lifetime to devote to this treasure hunt, because if you just put it under a rock, we're all doomed for. So, but that's kind of where I got it and where I came from and why I was so confident, because everything fit. Like, I had heard things, the end is ever drawing nigh. At first, before watching that video, I thought, well, hey, the definition, go left. Okay, so let's try going left, and does that work? And it kind of does, but when I heard that Earthquake Lake was only going to disappear in 100 years, it would go back to just being the Madison River, I thought that was a very, very perfect piece, perfect answer to that poem, to that clue in the poem. And I don't know if you guys have watched The Lore. The Lore is a movie that they put out about some Forrest Fenn searchers. And there is this one guy who, I remember him as kind of like the little farmer guy, kind of scruffy. Apparently he used to be in the corporate world, but the corporate world didn't like him too much. So now he's a farmer. But he says to Fenn, I figured it out like your poem. This is not a quote because I'm horrible at remembering anything word for word, but he says, your poem takes you down a river. And Fenn kind of, like you see this like glisten in his eyes, like, yeah, okay, what river? And the guy gives some answer, and Fenn's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, this guy doesn't know where it is. So I watched that, of course, after I had my solve, and I was like, it does follow a river. Begin it. You're beginning a river. You're taking the river down. When he says down, he means downstream. Downstream also is usually an elevation, so that kind of ties in together, but you're taking the river down, the canyon down. You're taking it all down. You're taking it all down river. So I, myself, just spent a week in Montana searching for this treasure. We flew out, landed in Bozeman on April 22nd around 1:30 p.m., and we started our search that Sunday. We ended up getting a snow on Monday, so we actually went to Yellowstone and kind of palled around and checked out Old Faithful and some of the lower Geyser Basin and mid Geyser Basin on Monday instead, and then resumed our search on Tuesday. And we searched Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Again, my watch says total for the week was over 30 miles that we walked. My feet hurt. I left my boots in the hotel because I was like, these boots have so many issues with them right now, which I will discuss in a later video, some of the things to expect when you are boots on the ground and what to prepare for. But it was an amazing trip. I would never have gone to Montana in my life. I'm kind of afraid of Yellowstone's volcano blowing up, and I kind of try to stay at safe places, so Montana was not on my must-see list. And now that I'm back for 3 days now, and I can't wait to go back. Maybe not even to search for Forrest Fenn's treasure, but some amazing things happened while we were there. I can't wait to share them with you, and there will be a piece of my heart in Montana for the rest of my life. And I only had a week there, and majority of that week was spent within a 5-mile radius. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Don't forget to like it. Even if you don't like it, still hit the thumbs up button, you know, and feel free to leave comments. I would love to hear your feedback. Also, I have a website. It's odiousoul.com. ODIOUSSOUL.com. You can go on there and hit the contact me page, and you can send me a message and email through there. Personally, I don't really do anything with my website, so don't expect anything too great. There's no blogs, there's nothing like that. Just, it's nothing, but it's a great way to contact me, and, you know, give you a small glimpse of who I am and where I come from and what I do. So again, thank you, and talk to you soon.